we are, guess we're ready to go. We're ready to go? Okay, very good. Folks, please stand and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, bless this assemblage. Grant us the wisdom to make our every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents. Thank you. Okay. And Hope, can you please call the roll to bring the meeting to order?
Meeting for February 18th, 2014 is now called to order. Collins. Present. Nardi.
Present.
Nioras.
Here.
Villanova.
Yes.
Harvey.
Okay. And the first, we'll stick with the agenda. The first item on the agenda is a presentation, and this will be from our Assessor, Denise Knauer. Okay, you are the first.
Can I pull this up?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Well, basically this evening I was hoping to...
Oh, here.
Yeah, we can do that. We have it right here. We have it right here. The attorney.
Thank you.
Get the lights. That's next. You got it?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Ready?
That looks
That's
good.
good.
a little show, okay? Yeah. Very good.
Okay, so I was hoping this evening to move forward with the concept of having GAR Associates assist us in becoming self-sufficient in using RPS as our valuation and assessment database. So Joe asked me to put together a set of department accomplishments, goals, and objectives to further that concept. The accomplishments for the department is that we've settled 100 out of the 171 SCAR cases to date. Charlie, our real property appraiser, has been diligent working at finding the best settlement. And of those 100 cases, the average reduction was only 8%, which is really great. 14 of them, or 14%, were dismissed or withdrawn. 61% were reduced between 1 and 10%. 17% were reduced 11 to 20%, and 8% were reduced between 21 and 25%, which is the maximum. And just to mention that the 2010 Westchester County Collaborative Assessment Study proposed that any challenge to the value should only be successful if there is clear and compelling evidence of a 15% reduction. So most of these were under 15%, which if we had a law passed throughout the county that they couldn't bring forth an appeal for such cases, we would really be able to reduce the caseload, because many of them are, for lack of a better word, frivolous, and they really suck a lot of personnel time out of our department.
Denise, does that legislation need to be passed on the county level or state level, or could that be home rule here?
I don't think it can be home ruled. We may be lucky if we could get it done on the county level. And the assessors are trying to work together to change these rules through the judicial system, but it could be a slow and challenging process. But if we could get other municipalities on board with us to see how much money's being spent, and it's not...
Would you be willing to draft a resolution with Mr. Noto that we can pass at next month's meeting? And then you could just, and we'll obviously pass this resolution, outlining why we want to have this legislation passed, and then you could take that on the road.
Sure.
And
use that
send
as
it off
support
to the other assessors throughout Westchester County.
Sure.
And we can be the lead agency on that.
Sure, that'd be great.
Sound a good idea, Mr. Noto?
We could try.
We'll try.
We'll certainly try. The other thing is some municipalities are charging for these cases, which there's a filing fee, but there's no additional administrative fee so anybody can file. So it pays for a representative to file as many cases as possible. If some are thrown out, there's no downside for them. The other thing is we've been continuing the negotiations of the commercial tax certs. That's an ongoing process. I just completed the calculations of the homestead and non-homestead adjusted base proportions. And as of today, all the figures have been reviewed and approved by the New York State Office of Real Property Services, all except the school districts, which we should have by tomorrow, hopefully. As you probably already know from past board meetings, we've contracted with Systems Development Group for the Outpost web-based service, which will allow us to take our assessment data in the field with real-time uploads of photos, notes, and minimize errors. They will also be, once again, hosting our website, which will replace Vision, and that will be a savings of approximately $3,200 a year. Vision's cost is $3,200 a year that we won't have to pay for. We've contracted the web-based service of IncomeWorks, which will be delivered by March 1st, and that will assist us in validating commercial values for appeals and future assessments. It should minimize appraisal fees and hopefully reduce some legal fees as well.
So going back, this will be next month in March. IncomeWorks.
Right.
So then let's maybe keep in mind that March 2015, we should be able to look back on 13-14.
Right.
And then look at 14-15. We should be able to see maybe a reduction in that area.
Right, and also Tim Van Kirk, the principal at IncomeWorks, has assisted me in some direction on the value of Doral Arrowwood, which is the pilot is coming due, and some bank valuations that we're just looking at today. So that should be helpful. Maria from my office has been working diligently, extra hours, to streamline the tax cert tracking spreadsheet that will better enable us to manage upcoming deadlines, priorities, and the total caseload. We can filter the data and use it in many different ways. It's about 3,000 rows on the spreadsheet. We can condense it to make it more user-friendly. There's a lot of information there. One other thing I've done is engage the services of Spatial Vector. Now, this so far is at no cost to the town. They're a young startup company that does data analysis, and David Jackson, the former tax commissioner, who's now the assessor for Yonkers, had them demo what they were doing for Yonkers, and I spoke to them immediately after the presentation back in November, and they started looking at our data. So I think they're looking to provide us with some guidance, but also then to show what they can do. But their heat map analysis is pretty interesting. They can take the parcels and pinpoint who's overset. This is residential parcels, who's overassessed, underassessed, adequately assessed. So it would be another tool to help us make better decisions.
Very good.
Let's see. So the goals would be to continue to use these new tools that we're putting online here to achieve fair, equitable, and defendable assessments, to decrease the property appraisal and legal fees, and eventually, hopefully, to decrease the number of appeals, both residential and commercial. But my main goal for this evening and going forward is to become self-sufficient using our RPS V4 system, which is the New York State Property Assessment Database. And we are required to use that because it manages the exemption administration component that Vision doesn't have, because Vision is not a New York State-based assessment program. So right now we have to maintain two systems, and it's costly, inefficient, and it increases errors. And
Well, at one time, there was a purpose for it, though.
Absolutely. Oh, it does.
Okay. So I don't want the public to think, or even our staff to think, that we were double paying for nothing.
Right.
So just touch base on that.
It does a very good job at valuation modeling. So you have Vision doing the valuation piece and RPS doing the data maintaining exemption piece. And one of the problems is data has to go back and forth between each system. And sometimes it's lost, sometimes it's modified. And so whenever that's done, there's constant validation that's required. You have to find out where the problems might be. It's gotten better over time. Mitch has worked hard with them to resolve those issues. The thing is, though, that RPS itself has its own valuation module that can do the CAMA, the computer-assisted mass appraisal modeling, actually at no additional cost. So if we were able to bring on GAR Associates, they could help us accomplish our goal of becoming self-sufficient using the full range of the RPS capabilities. Now, GAR was the reval company that just did the recent Mamaroneck reval. They were also one of the bidders on the 9 municipality consortium that Peekskill was a part of, Greenberg is a part of, Yonkers, they're all moving forward, but they're actually going with Tyler. GAR was a little expensive for that particular project, so another company has won the bid there. But GAR does have 17 or more clients that are municipalities throughout New York State. They've done the reval for them, and or they continue to assist them in maintaining 100% level of assessment. So they would enable us to use RPS as our only valuation tool. We can consolidate our data, streamline data entry, eliminate reconciliation and errors between the computer systems. And in the end, it would save us the $25,000 annual vision maintenance fee. The GAR services would include statistical analysis to determine any inequities by neighborhood and to better define those neighborhood boundaries. They would create the residential valuation models within RPS, and along with that would be the tables and components that are needed, the land tables, cost tables, time-adjusted sales, and so forth.
And now, when you talk about the neighborhood boundaries, you're talking about really zoning districts going from residential
Not
to commercial?
really. I mean, you could have two neighborhoods that are not contiguous, but are very similar in flavor and in values, mostly within the same village, though. That could be one neighborhood from a modeling standpoint.
Understood.
And you don't want to have that many neighborhoods, and you want to have neighborhoods with statistically significant number of sales so that you can start to make judgment calls about those neighborhoods.
Now, is this a one-time effort on the part of GAR?
Well,
or would it be a continuing effort?
it would be a one-time effort, and that would possibly continue through next year. 1 year, 2 years, and after that, we should be able to do all this on our own. If we followed a cyclical reassessment plan, we might need to bring them back in the 5th year and, for sort of a tune-up. That's what I think Corning, New York is doing. After the 5 years, they brought GAR back in, do a recheck, but it's at a much reduced cost. And that's basically it. So the overall objective, as with any assessment department, is to maintain fair and equitable assessments for the residential and commercial properties and to continue to maintain the level of assessment at 100%, which Mitch has worked hard and the department has worked hard to maintain thus far.
Okay.
So it would be the intent of the department to handle the commercial assessments as well as residential assessments?
Well, we would continue to oversee them, and if we needed, with the tools...
Vision was handling commercial, and I think they did some of the residential as well.
Yeah, no, RPS has the ability to value commercial properties as well.
Understood.
As long as it's all set up.
Vision was also providing some of the assessment analysis for the commercial.
They made adjustments to the valuations, and when they did inspections, that was a component part of it. But basically, it's currently the modeling of these values that they would be doing on a regular basis as part of that $25,000 a year maintenance fee.
Thank you.
Now, there's one other little piece that's not really
Okay.
connected to this, but it's here, so I figured I'd show it to you. Last month, we talked about the median sales prices throughout the county, and I had mentioned that Westchester home prices are up about 4%, and the number of sales are up about 21%. However, I looked at our specific data, and you can see that the number of sales here is up tremendously. 37% for Portchester, 62% for Rybrook, and 30% for Mamaroneck. And I looked at the median sales price, but the one in yellow for Portchester, I had to adjust because I felt that $4,600,000 value was an anomaly.
That was Gray Rock?
I don't know the specific sale offhand, but since it's such an anomaly, I threw it out. I readjusted because that made a big difference. So the adjusted mean sales price in Portchester is up 3%, Rybrook 3%, Mamaroneck 7%, which is in line with Westchester. Mamaroneck's leading the pack there. So that's good news.
It is.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Denise?
No, that was great.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Okay. And we'll go right into our agenda. And we'll go to number 2, which is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Collins? Yes. Nardi?
Yes.
Nioras? Villanova?
Yes.
Clerk.
Okay. And now we'll go to comments from the public. Does anybody have anything to say?
I guess.
Okay, very good. And we'll go into our communications and resolutions. We're going to go first to, we'll have an explanation regarding the Seaside Johnnies Tax appeal, and we're going to yield to
Yes.
Town Attorney Noto.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Supervisor. As the board, and I believe that there was a conversation last month, or at least there was an email exchange, I guess for Councilman Nardi, who wasn't here 2 years ago. In 2011, the City of Rye revoked an exemption on Seaside Johnnies. It was tax exempt. The rationale for that was that it's a restaurant that's privately owned, and they're making money, and therefore the assessor, Noreen Whitty, took the position that it's like any other restaurant, even though the facts are that it's part of the Brighttown Park, it's part of the park. The state legislature authorized the restaurant in 1933 as part of the creation of the park, and there was really no justification for the removal of the exemption. And they also removed the exemption in 2 other properties not related to us. One was the Tiki Bar at Playland, and the other one was where all the weddings are held.
Wainwright House.
Thank you, Wainwright House. Okay. So the process for us is then we had to file a appeal to the City Board of Assessment Review. We appeared with the county on behalf of Tiki Bar, and we were rejected. They did, however, restore the exemption to the Wainwright House. Don't know why, but they did. So then we filed a certiorari in court to have the exemption restored. That was successful. We had a motion for summary judgment that was granted by the court. Judge Tolbert wrote a 25-page decision in which he agreed with everything we said and restored the exemption and ordered the city to pay back the taxes with interest. And so the city filed at that point what's called a notice of appeal, which means it was their right to file an appeal within 6 months of that date. That time was expiring last month, I think January 23rd. The city had asked for an extension of time to file the appeal. We said no, Supervisor Carvin and I, because we really felt this needed some closure. We're still getting tax bills from the city, and this has really been harmful to the relationship between the City of Rye and the Town of Rye. And we thought their conduct was inappropriate. And they have yet to they have yet to comply with Judge Tolbert's order.
So they paid us nothing.
So they didn't do anything. They didn't restore the exemption. They didn't pay us back the money. Part of it is because there is a provision of the CPLR that provides for an automatic stay when there is a judgment against a municipality and they file a notice of appeal. So they weren't doing anything illegal, but it was unfortunate and we thought somewhat inappropriate. In any event, all of that work I did pro bono. not sure why at the time. We sort of got caught up in it. But anyway, we went pretty far and we won, so we're happy. But in any event, once they filed the appeal, that's a more significant process. It's in Brooklyn. We have to go to the appellate division. We file briefs. There's a record on appeal, which I didn't bring, but I might have left with Bishop, and you're welcome to see it if you'd like. But in any event, we have until February 27th to file our brief in response to the appeal, and then they have 2 weeks out. They've already filed their appeal, so we have 2 weeks to file, another week to file ours. Then they file a reply brief, and then the appellate division will set up an oral argument schedule, which would probably be sometime in the late spring or summer. So at the last meeting of the Rye-Town Park Commission, they approved this resolution, which was a compensation for me to do all this, to handle this appeal. It was, and I was charging the reduced rate at $250 an hour, and I capped it at $10,000. And I'm sure, obviously, I'll stay within that cap, but I thought that was a fairly reasonable fee under the circumstances.
Well, first, Mr. Noto, I want to thank you on behalf of the town of Rye and obviously the residents, because if you did charge us for all the things that you did do, obviously our expenses would go up, okay? And so we appreciate that, and once again, congratulate you on that win.
Thank you.
Quite simply, the town of Rye always has to stay in the position that we can protect our taxpayers, and if we're not fighting for the taxpayers and fighting for things like this, then we might as well just close up shop. And so I think that this is a responsible resolution, and we're in a position now to defend the town once again. And there's no doubt in my mind that we'll be successful once again under Mr. Noto's leadership.
We hope.
Yes.
But this will actually be paid by the Rye-Town Park Commission. This is not an expense of the town, but all that runs through the town. Yeah. All those expenses run through the town.
It's a partial expense. So, and this is how silly it was, and I was going to say, is this for Tom's...
right, and the City of Rye pays too.
The City of Rye, ultimately, in filing this, in this whole thing, they actually sued themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right, because they're on the board,
Yeah.
right, the town, right, and so they sued themselves. So anything that comes of this lawsuit, the City of Rye has to pay their portion anyway. So that's how silly it is.
It is a little bizarre.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you want me to go through, I'll go through any time. Just give me a call. All right.
No problem.
This is related to this subject. Many of you know I'm on the Rye-Town Park Capital Planning Committee, and very happy the fact that we have the RFP out there, and we're hoping to get some great responses for it. And if we don't win this argument, it could really impact the success of potential partnerships that we could garner for the future of the park. And we all know that the park needs, we need a solution, and we're right now on a great path towards one, and it's really important that, we empower Mr. Noto and give him all our support on this so that we can continue looking for that right partner to fix the park up.
Councilwoman Collins hit on a perfect note, and that's that going back to Councilman Nioras' original document, on the high end, the investment at Rye-Town Park to bring it up to speed is $14 million.
And that was a few years ago.
Then you think that, maybe 14's high. So maybe $10 million is the right number. But the bottom line is City of Rye has already told us that they don't have the capacity to take on any debt as far as capital expenses. The town of Rye does have some room, so we have the opportunity. But the unique thing there is that money needs to be spent on the Rye-Town Park to bring it up to speed, up to code, and make it serviceable. If we're not successful, okay, the opportunity, and what Councilman Collins was alluding to, the opportunity to bring in a public-private partnership. Who in the public would want to come and bring money into the Rye-Town Park and then have to pay additional taxes on it? It would ultimately defeat the purpose of doing all this hard work. And so thank you for Councilman Collins for staying the course on that. So I think we've, have any other comments on this resolution?
No.
Well, no? Okay. That being said, do I have a motion to accept Resolution A?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Collins?
Yes.
Nardi?
Yes.
Nioras?
Yes.
Villanova?
Yes. Okay. And Town Clerk Vespia, grant application.
Yes, I'm going to hand this over to Greg,
Okay.
That was quick.
unless you want me. Well, you worked really on the grant.
Thank you. I'll just say a few words. Before you have a resolution to authorize the town to submit a grant application to the New York State Archives. As you recall, last year we submitted an application for some $30,000 that were not successful. And the purpose of the application is to manage records better, and working with tax receiver Mecca and town clerk Vespia, the idea was to take about the past 14 years of tax records, which are in computer binders and loose leaf three-ring binders, some 180,000 pages, and scan them so that we could get rid of this paper and that to be far more accessible. So last year the application was for $30,000. We were not successful. This year we're going to try to pick up on the points that they recommended and submit another application probably in the $20,000 range. And so the deadline for that is next Monday, Monday after next, March 3rd.
Well, I'm a big fan of going paperless, so keep our fingers crossed that we get it.
So's Denise. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Arcaro and Town Clerk Vespia? That being said, do we have a motion for this resolution?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
A second.
Please call the roll.
Collins?
Yes.
Nardi?
Yes.
Nioras?
Yes.
Villanova?
Yes.
Clerk?
Very good. Thank you.
Did a good
And
job.
thank you. Okay, Denise, tax assessor. I guess you could stay there for the next three resolutions.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is for an appraisal for 1200 King Street, which is Stonegate at Belfair, the senior living facility. There's a pilot currently on the property that will expire, and it will become fully assessed. And in speaking with Mitch when he was leaving, he suggested it would be a good idea to get an appraisal. I am not 100% sure that I'm going to move forward with that, but I'd like to at least get this approved so that we can move forward if we do need it. It is a unique property. And coming off the pilot, we're really not sure where that assessment's going. But I'd like to have this in my back pocket so I can know if I'm able to utilize these appraisal services.
Any questions for Denise? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for to approve this resolution.
So moved.
And a second.
Okay, and this...
Hold on one second.
Sorry.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Oh, wait, who seconded?
Roberts?
Bob.
Okay. Yes, Collins?
Aye.
Nardi?
Yes.
Nioras?
Aye.
Villanova?
Yes.
Clerk?
Okay. GAR.
Okay, now the second resolution is for the GAR services that I was speaking about earlier. It would cost $25,000 for 2014 to get their services, and I think it would be worthwhile that we move forward to become self-sufficient using RPS.
From a layman's point of view, I mean, it almost sounds like there would be some benefit to at least the village of Mamaroneck. That GAR was the company that the town of Mamaroneck used, and to have the town of Rye use GAR as well would show some continuity throughout the village of Mamaroneck, both sides. Make sense?
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, being that we're already at 100%, we are there. We just need to tighten up our processes so that we can just use the one assessment tool and not have two systems.
Now, is GAR the only outfit that performs this sort of analysis?
No, and I reached out to two others that were involved in the consortium bids. One is Tyler, and they're not used to looking at the problem from this perspective. They're really used to coming in and doing everything soup to nuts, where GAR kind of came up with this hybrid solution, very reasonable, and Tyler's fee was like $300,000. So they said they would come back to me with a modified proposal, but I'm thinking that it's not going to come anywhere near this. I mean, if you'd like, I could do that.
No, I
That
just,
would make
I
sense.
know you're
But there's a,
relatively new, but there is on the procurement manual, there's a policy that we go out and try and get 3 bids on any contract that's over $20,000, including professional fees.
okay,
So-
I mean, I still could try to do that. I also talked to SVS, they're going to be the monitors for the consortium, and they weren't quite sure even how to approach this as well. So I just, if you need me to
No,
do that, I'd be...
Has GAR done this type of work before, though?
They do this type of work in different modifications with many of the different municipalities, like the town of Corning, where they're coming back to do a tune-up. It's not a full-blown reval. So this is what they do.
When's our next reval?
We just did one.
Well,
It's probably going to like...
the cycle has been modified, so potentially it would be next year. But again, following that plan that New York State dictates really is for the New York State reimbursement, which is dried up. So the plan is a roadmap, but if we veer from the plan or extend it, then we could always start the plan all over again. Basically, the funding from New York State for assistance, the $2 per parcel is gone. But the objective would be to remain at 100%.
So no one's coming here from Albany with the big fake check anymore, $52,000. Here you go, guys?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
That was a joke. You had to be here a few years ago to see that one. Okay. I agree with Councilman Nioras, but what I also heard from you, Denise, was that you actually you spoke to, one of them was $300,000 you said for this, so.
but I don't think they had a clear concept of what we wanted to do.
All right.
So does this mean we're completely disengaging with Vision? Are we...
Eventually.
We're trying.
Okay.
Yes, we're trying to do that. I mean, what would be ideal this year is to run both systems and to see where the values come out and compare them.
Okay. Denise, I would feel comfortable going forward with this, but I think for the comfort of the board, if you can just provide us, with some additional information, making sure that we got the best value here with.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep, I can do that.
And so, do I have a motion to approve Resolution D?
Aye.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
sorry, Collins, Nardi,
Yes.
Nioras,
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes. Okay. And homestead, non-homestead base proportion.
The last one I put in rather at the last minute here is the resolution to approve the homestead and non-homestead adjusted base proportions for the town. It's important that these get done this month, so that's why I squeezed it in. These calculations have been approved by the Office of Real Property Services, and so we are good to move forward.
And now I'm looking at the numbers. I'm seeing a shift. The non-homestead base proportion's actually grown a little bit.
I
Do you see that as well?
don't have the calculation
Okay.
right against last year at the moment, but it shifts a little bit, but I'd have to check that.
Okay. If you don't mind, maybe next meeting, or even just shoot us the council an email. Just give us the historic proportions, just so we can kind of see where it is. Good.
On just the town?
Oh, just the town, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that being said, obviously this is an important resolution that we pass every year, and it protects the property owners, both commercial and residential. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Collins,
Yes.
Nardi,
Yes.
Nioras,
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes. Okay, very good. Denise, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Department reports. Assessor. We're done. Okay. Finance, Mr. Byrnes.
Just one quick thing. Just want to update the board. They have the receivable schedules for the month. And our receivables are about 2.3 as of January 31st, which is about 1.41% of the levy, which is pretty much comparable to last year. We're doing a pretty good job there. Town Attorney Noto is about 5 or 6 properties that by next month, I don't know if that's the exact, by the end of the month, that we may take possession of. So there's taxes owed on those properties, which may lead us into another auction by the summertime, should they don't pay their taxes. And for most of those properties, the tax is about between 15 and 20% of the assessed value. So if we go to auction, obviously, we want to get as much of that money. We want to double that at least to get 30 to 40% of the value to pay the back taxes, and then actually there'll be a profit to the town for all its troubles. So that's where we are. We should have an update next month of which new properties the town had to take possession of.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And Bishop did not see his shadow when he was shoveling snow on.
Is that true, Bishop? You know his shadow?
On the contrary.
Okay. Receiver of taxes, Mr. Mecca. What's on there?
Deputy Supervisor Villanova, members of Town Council, good evening. Nicholas Mecca, 45 Alto Avenue, Portchester. I just want to remind everybody that today we have run the notices for the delinquent school taxes. They'll go out in the mail tomorrow, a little delayed because of the holiday and the snow day last week, but there are over 600. So this should require a very careful look at from all of you people who are responsible for your taxes and have not paid it. Actually, it's not far from the last 2 years, but initially it's an awful lot of money that's outstanding. So please, folks, you're going to have it in the next day or so, and the first thing that everyone is going to holler, as they already have been doing, it's a 10% penalty. You're reminded all over the place, on the back of the bill, in the notices that I put in the paper, on the cables. When I'm here in front of the board, it's a 10% penalty for a school delinquency. And there is nothing by law we can do. So please, see what you can do. The penalty stays in force until May 31st, so you do have some time to get this cleaned up. So everyone, please do so, okay? And I will be working with Mr. Noto because there's actually 9 parcels that have not come forward with some payments. So I will work with him in the next couple of weeks. So by next month, we should have a better understanding of where we stand with foreclosures. Okay, any questions from me?
Nope.
No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Town Clerk Vespia?
I submitted my report already, but I'd like to just mention that we've been working on the 2 offices, the tax and collection,
We don't own one.
and the town clerk's office, as far as scanning as many documents as possible
selling-
that are permanent documents, so that will
She's gone.
eliminate a lot of transferring these hard copies to our new location. And I'm hoping that we do get that grant because we have loads of big tax rolls. And that would be great. And we set up a time for the county to bring a municipal shredder for us. And it'll just be for the municipalities. It's during the week. And they're going to come 3 times, so that we'll be able to clean up.
After you scan it in, you can shred it out.
Right. And after we get the grant, and then Denise and I have spoken, we have to clear out the basement as well. There's a lot of things, but we'll work on that together. And that's
Okay.
about it.
Right, thank you. And obviously, department heads, please let us know what you need from the board. If it's equipment, whatever that may be, temporary labor, you let us know.
We may.
Okay.
We've been working with the gentleman who's doing like our on-call maintenance.
Yeah.
And he's been helping us on Fridays doing that.
Okay, very good. So the on-call person's coming and dedicating part of his time?
We're using them to take a lot of the records from the historic records file and move them up to Crawford Park. So they have been doing that in conjunction with Ms. Vespia.
That's good, and that's part of their regular hours?
And that's part of their regular hours.
Perfect, that's working well.
They had to take down the shelves, take all the records down, transport the shelves up there, put them together again, and it's been a big job, but it's working out nicely.
Good, good to hear. Okay, Crawford Park.
Well,
Please tell me we have good news.
I wish. I really wish. The only good news is that all of the work that we are required to do in terms of replacing the pipe, etc., repiping inside the mansion, all of our work is finished and has been finished for the last 3 weeks. We have been pushing Con Ed. We actually facilitated getting the permit expedited from Rye Brook, the street opening permit. I mean, we're ready. We've done as much as we possibly can. Con Ed still has not marked out the job to extend the service from the end of Betsy Brown Road to Crawford Park. I'm not sure how we can approach it, but we may look for some political pressure to be put because, frankly, people aren't listening to me.
Are we in Con Ed Region 7 here?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I'll try to find that out. I think we may have some influence there.
All right, because right now, you know,
There's really no words. I mean, what kind of reaction have we gotten from residents? Have you heard much? Have we had many?
No, it's basically been benign. Our problem has been the people that had originally booked various events. We have been, getting them to cancel. So we're looking basically 30 days out.
Yeah.
And alerting people that, hey, you have to reschedule or you have to move your event. For example, I spoke to the Old Timers just yesterday because they have a March 11th event.
Right.
And I told them I could not guarantee that we would have
I would think we'd still be in this position.
Sure.
No one could have foreseen this taking as long as it did.
you're not going to be ready March 11th. Not with Con Ed.
Well, again, if we can put some pressure on somehow, I'd like to evaluate that. I just don't know how to do it beyond the people that I have been able to contact.
Okay. While Bishop's up there, everything is moving along quite well, and I believe on time for the move to Grace Church Street. I believe that we've spec'd out pretty much most of the furniture.
Yep.
And that will be, I think, well received by all the departments, so all that brand new furniture. The bids for the work are due this Friday?
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So are those going to be opened on Friday or no?
Well, they're going to be received by us on Friday, but us opening them is frankly not that productive.
Yeah, really.
This is a very complicated bid process, and there are numerous alternate aspects to it in terms of choosing different ways to do certain work.
Right.
So the architect will get the bids.
Vet them with the engineer.
And vet them with the engineer. So they're going to need about a week or so to be able to do that, and they're going to analyze those bids and come back to us at that particular point.
Part of that scope of work, and just so everyone's aware, is the quality of the bid that we're looking at is the timeliness that each bidder can start the job and finish the job. So that's important for us.
And the board should know that there were 9 bid packages that were picked up. As we reviewed them, I put some notes down. The one identified as sub is actually a subcontractor to one of the general contractors here. He picked up his own packet.
And then the two that are marked pub are construction publication firms. What they do is they get bid packages, they then summarize them, and they publish them for contractors. So they actually get the word spread a little bit further. But in terms of bid packages that actually went out, there were 9 of them in total. We're expecting 4 or 5 bids, quite frankly.
Very good. Okay, Superintendent of Highways.
When do we think, what's the date? What is our projected date at this rate?
Right now, our official projected date is the end of April. Truth be told, it'll probably be a week later than that.
Good evening. Has everybody reviewed the report? Any questions?
Yeah, John, if you can, please, when are you having this meeting with regards to the Otter Creek Bridge?
Setting up a date next week with Tom Ottoman.
Okay, if you can get in touch with me, I'd like to be at that meeting.
Okay.
Okay. The town of Rye invested $750,000 in that bridge. What year, Hope?
Oh, it was 2 years ago?
No.
Wait, which?
The replacement.
That was before me.
10 years ago?
Oh.
That was when Jimmy Sapione was.
It was 10
At least 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. The town of Rye invested at that time $750,000. I believe that was the number. We need to be aware of that when we're discussing what we're doing here now.
Okay. Because the part of the project is the maintenance project. We're just not having anybody bid on the proposals that we put out.
What are we doing to the bridge?
Is that the painting?
There's painting and maintaining of the bridge, maintenance of the bridge structure itself, the flitch plates and the beams. We got one bid back for $275,000 to paint the bridge. That's only 25 feet, 30
bridge?
feet.
There we go.
Yeah, we
I'll paint it for less than that.
But part of the concerns that you have when you're working with
The bridge is as big as this table.
I know, we only got one bid.
with anything like this is that you're dealing with wetlands. You have to do all the work with the tides. So there's the contractors.
It's a constricted work.
Contractors that are going to do this work, obviously, they have to work alongside Department of Environmental Protection. They have to put up barriers for silt and so it's a big project for such a small bridge. And the truth is, it's the same amount of work if you were doing a larger bridge. Just happens to be a small bridge.
And also, you have to notify the Coast Guard as well.
Yeah, you have to notify them. This is not something we have to go out and get permits for. It's all part of the process already.
You're doing the work.
Yes, because it is technically a navigable waterway.
Yes.
Okay.
And I just noted also there that there may be some further information forthcoming in reference to a sewer line from the club out there that may or may not affect the Otter Creek Bridge. Right now, it's in some planning stages, environmental review, because there's a sewer line that has to be replaced, and there's several plans, and one of the plans is to bring it across Otter Creek via the bridge. But that's something we have to wait and see what comes forth through the Village of Mamaroneck and the club, and what happens over there.
What I would suggest, if any conversation like that happens, I would try not to attach any additional structures to that bridge. If there's going to be any kind of a waistline or anything else, you should obviously make it be known that you would rather have them, and if we need to enlist counsel, that structure be separate into itself. I think it would benefit us in the future for doing any kind of repairs to the bridge and any kind of maintenance, and would benefit them in the future if they have to do any repairs or maintenance to that structure.
Well, actually, I'm conflicted on that since I represent the club. But to illuminate on what John was saying, what happened was there's a sewer line that runs from the club under Otter Creek up to the Mann property to Alder Road. And that line broke over the summer. There was a leak. So it's been repaired. But the village has required the club to replace the line. So in order to do that, they're in front of the planning board on the site plan review process, so they're doing a draft supplemental environmental impact statement just on the sewer line. And one of the options is to replace the line as it is, right through the man is a neighbor, through that property to Alder Road. And unfortunately, they need an easement to do that, and Mr. Mann hasn't granted that easement. The SAPOA, the Shore Acres Property Owners Association, is lobbying and advocating that the club run the line up Southbury over the bridge, right up to Alder Road. And it's really more of a function of money and time and whatnot. There are lines, the gas and water do run over the bridge to the club. So there are utilities that run on the bridge. And the club is looking at both of these options, and that's where John got the notice, to see which makes more sense. Either way, there'll be a bunch of permits required from either DEC or Office of General Services. In fact, going over the bridge, they might even need Coast Guard approval because it's technically a navigable waterway. So it's a lengthy process. But those are the two options. Just so you know, the neighborhood is pushing the option over the bridge. For now, the club's preference is to go where it is and just run the line the way it is, but that may be problematic. So.
Did they check to see about having the sewer line relined with epoxy coating on the inside?
Yeah, they looked at that. It's an old, it was too old to do that, so they're going to have to replace. Yeah. They would rather have done that, but apparently they can't do that.
Was it clay pipe?
I don't know. It's clay, but it's no, it's not clay. It's some other material. It won't collapse, but they said they can't just reline it. They have to replace it. It's a very expensive process.
Relining it's a lot less expensive. I've used.
Yeah, no, it is. But for some reason, from an engineering perspective, they couldn't do that.
You got to get them to call Tom.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Maybe. Maybe. But anyway, so I'll be. John called me, and if he has any questions from a technical standpoint, I'll help him out. Obviously, if the town takes any official action, I'll pass it off to Martha, my deputy. So.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, John. Okay. Comments from councilpersons? People?
Just real quick, back in regards to the Rye-Town Park RFP, it is released to the public right now. It is posted on the website. We are looking just to push it out. If anyone knows any developers or organizations or persons of interest who might like to explore the RFP, please encourage them to do so. We've been sharing it on our professional LinkedIn accounts, and just encourage all of you to do the same. Board members, that would be great if you could as well. I could email it to you, because you never know where that right person is going to come from, and we'd just like to make sure that we do our best to push it out to the public for as much viewing as we can get.
Thank you.
I don't have any comments.
Bobby?
No comments.
Just want to make one quick comment, and that's, it's great to hear, Denise made a comment earlier about, an employee that's really stepping up to the plate to help out the assessment, and she mentioned Maria, that's Maria Rapocchio, who's been a long-time employee of the town of Rye. So it's always good to acknowledge the people that are going above and beyond, and it's great to hear that, and it's always good to make sure that we know, some of the shining stars that we have here working with the town. That being said, thank you, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
And we have a second.
Second.
And please call the roll.
Collins, Nardi,
Yes.
Nioras,
Aye.
Villanova.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.